Hello guys, welcome to another video. Today we have here a Alfa 159, the 8-valve engine, the JTD engine. It has a crank no start. It has a very intense smell of burning, something burning over here like electrical burning, and also a few other things. The fuel filter is loose, some very large oil leaks. I already talked about these leaks on another engine just like this one. It is down on the description of the video. Well, let's get to it. We have a new battery because the old one was very bad. I have to clean all this up, but before that, let's do here some testing. And as you know by now, I like to use my trusty hotel machine to do a diagnosis. What we will see as always is, do I have a permit to crank the car? I mean, is the immobilizer correct? I mean, when I insert the key, does the car permit that the engine starts? We have to see the crank, or I mean, we have to see the RPM, and we have to see mainly the fuel pressure, okay? So RPM, fuel pressure, and the immobilizer are the main three things to start the car. Let's see if any of those things are missing and deal with that, okay? Funny thing is, on modern cars, you can do almost a full diagnosis with the hood closed, at least to start with. So at this stage I want to see the actual data, the live data. I don't care about the fault codes right now. Performing a diagnosis is way more than just seeing fault codes, and I just want to read the parameters that I told you. I already talked about this stuff on my 156. I did a video a few years ago, and it is exactly the same thing, the same stuff that you want to see. So I want to pick over here the RPM, I want to pick the fuel pressure, I also want to pick some, for example, the mass airflow meter, because these cars, if they have a broken pipe or a separated pipe on the intake, they may not start. Let's see down here the permits for start and the permit for the low pressure fuel pump. This is the permission for the starting of the engine by the immobilizer. Here I want to pick if the low pressure fuel pump is engaged or not. I want to select the ones that I picked. So I have here the RPM. This is in Portuguese, okay? The RPM, I want to see it when I crank the engine. And if I have here the RPM, it has a little bit of a lag between the diagnosis machine and the car itself. So bear with me, okay? The second line here is the pressure of the fuel. So it measures the pressure on the command rail. And right now I'm seeing here 6.5 bar that comes from the low pressure fuel pump, because I have the ignition on, okay? And I'm seeing here already the low pressure fuel pump is working correctly. At cranking, we also have here the mass airflow. I want to see if it starts to gain some mass, because like I told you, if you have a problem with the intake, the car may not start. Some cars do not start at all, okay? I have the permission to start the car over the key, so the key is correct, and the control unit, the ECU itself, is programmed with the rest of the car, okay? So I have permission to start the car. The car says, okay, nothing wrong, so you can start the car. No, now the foot is on the clutch. These cars only work like that. Let's crank it and see this value over here, and this one over here, and this one. So the three first ones. So on the first three lines, what you want to see is about 300 and everywhere, okay? So 300 RPM, 300 bars on idle, and around 300 milligrams of mass airflow, okay, of the air. So starting the car. So what is wrong with this picture? The fuel pressure. Now I have a small theory. Remember that this car came on the tow truck from very far away, and I seem to have low diesel. Let's hope that is not it. In fact, let's hope that is it, but in fact the owner paid a lot of money to tow the car in, and just because of maybe no fuel on the car. About 15 liters of diesel are in. Now you remember to do the purging, the bleeding of the system. It is automatic. You just have to switch up the ignition a bunch of times. Oh, I can hear something. Normally the low pressure fuel pump stays on for about 10 to 20 seconds, and I can just hear it for a second. Maybe enough to produce the 6.5 bar that I saw here on the diagnosis machine, but not enough to crank the engine, obviously. Oh, now I have fuel over there. I really had low fuel. Possibly a problem with the relay. I can do a shunt on the relay to see if the pump works well. And if it does, it may be a problem on the relay or on the command for the relay. Yeah. Interesting. Can you hear? Okay. Now we can open the hood and start working under it. It is not worth it to crank the engine because I know that it will not start. Just with this small second, it is not enough to start the car. By removing here this cover, we have here 4 relays and a bunch more, okay? But we have here one missing. There is this one over here, T19. T20 corresponds, T20 is not here. T9 is that red one. The T10 is the fuel pump relay. That's what you want. And we have then the T6 for the engine fan. Does not matter, okay? So we'll remove this. I could do stuff in another way, and possibly we have to, like measuring directly the fuel pressure, but I have to buy some accessories or have them made because they're not for sale apparently. And I could also see if 12 volts reach the fuel pump more than the time that I hear it, but the the clips for the seat, the lower seat of the rear bench, are not available anymore. So I don't want to break them and then have them all completely loose. So let's start with this, okay? Let's test the relay and see if I can hear for a longer period of time the pump if I do a shunt over here, okay? Just do it by feel. Like for example, if you do not have any tools at home, you can start the procedure by feel and then do it in another way. I'm seeing over there a EGR gasket out of place. There is absolutely no problem to do the shunt over here and let the pump running. No problem at all, okay? The pump will not go bad because imagine if you are doing a road trip for about 10 hours, whatever time you need or want, the pump, the low pressure fuel pump and the high too, will work for that amount of time, okay? Always straight on. So let's carry on. You already saw me talk about relays, and this one apparently does not have any markings whatsoever, but I have, so no schematics, okay, but I have here the numbers for you, okay, so this is 30, this is 87, this is 85, and 86 over here. So you want to connect the 30 with the 86, okay? So this is the power that comes from the battery, and this is the power that goes to the pump. And I can clearly hear the pump running, no problems whatsoever. I can hear the air going through, and possibly the car also starts. Now the car may have a fault code that may stop the car from running because it does not have the relay on, and it measures the circuit of the relay, so it may do that. But let's try it anyway, okay? Try a little bit more. Let's see the pressure, okay? If you are missing the pressure right now. This is what we want. Measured pressure. It is at 650, okay? And the objective is 330. So I'm doing here some thinking. Probably the car thinks there is no need to run the pump, the low pressure fuel pump, because the car will not start. That is the thinking of the car. That's why the pump just starts for a little bit. And maybe that's happening, well, maybe not, but maybe that's happening because I have a false synchronization of the engine in terms of sensors, like the sensor of the crankshaft and the sensor of the camshaft. Because I have here the RPM for the engine, but I do not have the RPM or the position sensor for the camshaft, nor do I have the synchronization, the electrical synchronization between top and bottom of the engine to say if yes, it is synchronized or no, it is not synchronized. So possibly I have a problem on the camshaft sensor. Possibly, but that does not make the car do the fuel pump just for a second. Or maybe it does. Never really gone through this issue in the past, or thought it this way. Another thing that you have to have in mind is the numbers that we see over here may not be correct, namely the low pressure fuel pump. It may be incorrect. So you have to see with the gauge, the physical gauge, if that is the issue or not. Okay, I do not have the small adapter for it. I have to have one machined for me. So the relay works for more than 1 second. It works the entire time actually, so no problems with the relay. Something is making the relay just work for a second, and the signal comes from the control unit, for the engine control unit, this one over here. And something is telling the control unit, or the control unit is deciding, I'm just gonna let the pump run for a second because the engine will not start. Okay, one step at a time. One thing that I saw, and sometimes it happens, is the inertia button. Sometimes it is deployed. This one it was not. I just press on it. It is down on the driver's seat on the left-hand drive ones. The right-hand drive ones, I do not know. Okay, let's just push it down, and the symptom remains. So it's not from there. And actually, doing this test over here with the shunt, it tells me that the button is correct because the wire passes through that button, no matter what. Well, before testing the sensor, I just saw over here, I have here the fault code for ESP, ABS, control, traction control and whatnot. And I thought maybe at the time, maybe it is a problem with, let's shut up here the thing, with the battery with low voltage, because it had really low voltage, because the customer sent me some videos about that, and eventually he replaced the battery. And I did not I did, but did not pay close attention to what I usually do is to test the entire thing, the entire car. Okay, so I select here the model and whatnot. So 159, 8-valve engine, and normally it does an auto scan, and it tests all of the control units. I know that my auto machine, this older one, not the new one, sometimes does not read all of the control units, but I know that it reads the ESP ABS, and in this case it cannot find it. So eventually it will be Eastern, so airbag, body computer, steering, Okay. Okay, ABS, ESP, it is scanning, does not find it. It's trying and trying, nothing. Okay, so it then skips it to the next control unit, which is the engine. If I do a error check on the engine, does not say that he has a miscommunication with the ESP. Okay, neither on the body computer. That is very odd. Normally I say reading fault codes is not doing the diagnosis, and it is true, especially on this case, because the fault codes that we have will not tell me, sorry, not over here, will not tell me anything about a miscommunication with the ESP system. Now, without the ESP system, the car will not run at all, okay? Because it is part of the CAN network. So I have over here some fault codes on the airbag and whatnot. So on the airbag I have internal errors. Nothing too much about that. Maybe a faulty control unit. I have another fault code on the steering lock that is very common to be. Normally it's nothing, it's just some residual fault codes. Unable to unlock the steering, that is very common. Okay, I have here also on the tag unit, sometimes misreading of the tag, also very common to happen. So nothing over here to tell me that we have a problem. On the engine, we have fault codes related to the sensor that reads the temperature of the diesel. That is that sensor, the double sensor that is underneath, screwed in to the fuel filter. It has the capacity to read the temperature of the fuel and also to see if water is present on the diesel. It is 2-in-1, okay? And it also has an error regarding here the freon. It is very, very, very low, okay? So nothing here on the fault codes tells me that I have a problem with the communication. Not even the blinking of the kilometers over there is not happening, just the hours over there. Okay, so next thing to do is to grab our electrical diagrams like this, okay, and see on the VDC. So beautiful. These diagrams are very, very, very good. I really love them. And to see power, ground, communication with the ESP. If it is all there, we have a problem with the ESP itself. You all saw me do this presentation here on the whiteboard about the electrical diagram. Again, this is a simplified diagram for the M50. The M50 is the ABS ESP VDC system. And I want to know if all of the positives and negatives in CAN network reach them, okay? So I have here again the M50. This is again the ABS ESP VDC system, and it is fed by positives on the B01 or B001 from the fuse box of the engine, and from the B002 from the fuse box for the cabin side, and obviously that comes from the battery, okay? Now let's get straight to it. We have a positive that comes from the I30, which is the brake pedal switch, and it comes from the fuse, the F37 from the B01, okay? Once you push on the brake pedal, you must have here a positive for the 17, the terminal number 17 on the M50. Again, on the B01, you have a F4 and F5, so fuse number 4 and fuse number 5, that comes straight on to the pin number 12 and the pin number 25. These two, the F4 and F5, it is with the ignition switch off, which means every time the car has a battery connected, it has positive on those two terminals. And then you have with the ignition on, once you connect the ignition on this 159, you push on the button, okay, or insert the key. You have from the fuse F42, you have to the terminal number 23, you have again a 12 volt positive, okay. You also have permanently a ground on number 11 and number 24, okay. The battery of the car, you must have always good grounds. They are permanent to the ground, to the body of the car, which eventually goes to the battery, okay. You also have here the terminals that go to the sensor, the wheel sensors. This does not matter for what we need right now, okay? Not at all. And we have here the CAN network that comes from the ECU to the M50, okay, via the terminal number 1 and 2, okay. So I usually do here a summary of what I need to do to see on the car. So I grab a piece of paper, a small piece of paper, and I see number 1, CAN network, is it there, yes or not? Number 2, CAN network, is it there, yes or not? I already talk about CAN network here on the channel. I have a video down in the description if you want to know more about that, okay? Number 12, I have to have positive permanently from the battery, which means even without the ignition on. Number 17, I have to have with ignition on, okay? Once I press the pedal, I have to have 12 volts on the 17. On the 33, I have to have 12 volts once I turn on the ignition, basically. Number 25, again, a positive from the battery permanently, okay? And I like to do it just like this, from ordered from 0 to whatever number I have, so it's easier on the connector to see straight away what I need, okay? Again, I need on number 11 and 24 a good ground, and you can see the grounds with some other techniques that I show you also on the channel. I will do this with the multimeter, but you can do this with a light bulb, for example. It can be a really good result, because if you have problems with wiring, the light bulb will tell you and the multimeter will not, okay? So basically what I need to do here is, if everything is right, if everything with the wires is right, the problem may be with the M50, okay, or not, because the M50 has to communicate with the body computer, but it does not go directly to the body computer. Firstly, it goes through the ECU, and then the ECU talks to the BCM, and then the BCM talks to everybody, okay? But you have here display with slave and master, which the M50 is a slave and the ECU is the master. You have this small duality over here, okay? Imagine this. Any of the wires have a failure, any of them, you will have this symptom. So beware of that. Any of them, any, okay? Now, this one do not matter, okay? But about the positive and the negative, anyone can do this. If you have everything correct, it means that you may have a problem with the module or the ECU, okay? Because the communication between the two of them. Another thing that I love about this method of doing the diagnosis is, if I have everything that is supposed to have, I know that I'm testing the connector, the wire, the fuse, the internals of the B001. I have everything, okay? If I have, imagine if I have an issue with this wire, the 12 for example, now I can test about the fuse, about the wire, about the pins, about the connectors, about everything related only to that wire. If I was to do that for all the wires, the time triples, quadruples, it is immense, and the customer cannot pay that, okay? Should not pay that. If you do a general troubleshooting on the wires, on the pins themselves, if everything reaches there, it means that everything back is correct. The wires, the fuses, the connectors, like I said, the interconnections, actually, everything is correct, okay? So let's go to the car and see what we can find. Now for this, you want to locate where is your ESP, ABS, VDC. This car is over here, so it's very simple to perform a diagnosis, because we can pull back here the connector, okay? Every time you are doing a troubleshooting on the positives and negatives, you should do it under tension with the connector on, okay? But firstly, we'll do just a general check over, just with the connector off. Well, this smell, where does it come from? It does not come from there. I thought it was from the starter. Oh my god. It comes from the ECU. Well, okay, wait wait a minute, okay? Let's see if everything reaches there, okay? So seeing here the connector, we have here the number 1 over there, and it follows through until number 12. Then we have the middle row, which starts on 13, and it goes until whatever, and the final row reaches until 25. So this is a 25 pin connector. What you want to see right now is on number 12 and 25, you must have positive from the battery, and then on number 11 and 24, you must have negative. So, like I showed you so many times on my channel, you connect one of the probes. So you want to see, for example, you want to see the negative. You connect the positive to a known positive, so the positive probe to a known positive, and you connect the other probe to what you want to see. And see there on the screen, I have almost 12 volts. I have almost 12 volts. And seeing the battery, I have almost 12 volts. Okay, so for the positives, the same thing. You go connect your negative probe to a known good negative. You can also use the negatives from the connector itself, no problem. And you want to see almost 12 volts, almost 12 volts. Okay, now the next thing is to see if you have on number 23 positive. So 24, 23, I do have positive. Be careful not to harm the pins. Then I want on number 17, I want to see if it has, so 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. If I do have, and I have, the 12 volts, so everything is okay. On CAN network, I must have, so I have 2.5. Connector is off, so it must do some interference, but I have everything over here, okay? And that's it. Next thing will be to say the problem is with the VDC, but I must really send this control unit, the ECU, to be checked over because it smells like crazy bad. The smell is truly horrible, and I cannot let this pass. I have to check it out. If it is good, it's good. If it is not, we must see what is wrong with it. I will send them out to my friends at Total Centralinas. They work worldwide, so you can reach them to see your problem. It really smells terribly. Just take out the 4 bolts and send in the control unit, preferably with the fault codes and the symptoms. In this case, we do not have any fault codes to guide us. Well, I have a fault code on the temperature sensor of the diesel, but now I think the problem must be internal here. Yeah. So removing here or replacing here this bracket, I have a used one, a good used one to put in. We have the 10mm nuts, and we have the E10s internal torques, 3 of them, one over there, there and there. Now it's just a matter of taking out everything that you need. I'm moving here this glow plug module to a side, and also the DPF sensor, the back pressure sensor, to a side, along with the wire. Yeah, the wire can stay. Yeah. About the glow plug control unit, if you have an issue with a fault code related to miscommunication or something about communication with the glow plug control unit, the issue normally is not the control unit itself, it's just a bad glow plug normally. Again, if you want to know more about that, I do have videos for how to test the glow plugs. It goes for all mixing models, okay, including here alphas, diesel alphas with the 5 volt, 11 volt, 4.5 volt, any voltage that you have on your glow plugs, okay. Now the previous bracket did not have that part because it was broken. Well, let's not force it. I think this is the way. Try not to break this one also. This is not common to see this bracket broken. Maybe it is on some other countries, but here this is the first one. Now the 3 main bolts. Try not to lose them. They can fall off. I think in this way, welding the broken bracket will not do as good as this replacement. Well, if you are an excellent welder, you can, but the labor involved may not be of your liking. Plus, it is a spot where rust can start to come through, and that is not good, right? Rust is not good. You can also opt for a new support if available. Now, not to bend it, try to reach it with the other hand. What I'm doing is to insert the tubes into the bracket. The failure here, the fault code about the sensor that is on the fuel filter could be an issue with the ECU. Now with the ECU repaired, yes, it was repaired, it is not a new one, and also it is not a used one, it is the same, and it was repaired, okay. The issue, the fault code with that can be, we can see now if it was the ECU or the sensor. If necessary, I have a new sensor to put in. If it is not necessary, I will not put the sensor in. This is the broken part. This wiring is always in the way. Make sure it is nice and snug, because on the other bracket I noticed that someone bent it, that's why he broke. The weight of the filter is held on by this area over here, and it is crooked. So the weight of the filter broke out here, this area. Now beware of this. Most of the times when you have a slow or weak start, mainly on diesel engines, the problematic area is that grounding over there. Sometimes gets loose, sometimes gets crusty, oxidized. In this case I will replace it altogether. Look at that. It is awful. Very bad. So I will put in a new cable, or a good used one. Try to clean it the best you can. Normally the conduction is made by the threading of the bolts, okay? And this area over here does not need to be bare metal, but it is best to be bare metal. And then we have to protect it, because we just remove the paint. So we have to use some ceramic paste grease, for example, that I like to use, and is very good, and do a better job than this it is appearing to be. The other cable from the rail to the gearbox also has this issue. So normally what I do when I lift the car to do something, I always check for tightening of all of the bolts for the groundings of the car. Okay, copper paste is also a very good grease or paste. And here a little bit more, if I have it. I think I do not. I clean everything out with a wire brush. For the 2.2 JTS gasoline engines that are so few in Portugal, like one or two, I've seen in one the lower grounding cable, the one that goes from this rail to the gearbox, breaks, and I did a short for that as well. So make sure that is not the problem. Sometimes you have a non-start, sometimes it seems to be just clicks, seems to be the starter, in fact can be the cables. So cables on 939s, grounding cables are a must before anything else. Make sure your post of the battery is good. This is new, a new battery. Make sure the area of the cable that goes to there is also free of corrosion. This one is like new, and you can apply a little bit of this grease or any other grease that is special for this application. But the connection is not now, because we have to connect the ECU. I like to use the WD-40 in here for several reasons. One is it is because of the terminals, the connections themselves. The WD-40 makes an excellent job at that, and also on the mechanism over here makes it much more smooth, much smoother, right? And finally, a lot on the terminals. You can do this one day before, it is for the best. 4 10mm bolts that hold down this ECU. You can and should apply a little bit of WD-40 or a dielectric grease, for example. Battery is off. Does not matter which one you do first. Matters is it is well connected. Now for connecting the battery, remember what I said in previous videos. When you are replacing the battery, you do the same procedure. So the key is off of the car, is right there behind me. You connect this connector. This one I already rectified it, if you can remember, okay? And then wait 5 to 10 minutes before you open the door. And before you open the door, close and open the car with the remote, and then open the door, and then switch on the ignition, and then we do the diagnosis, okay? Make sure it is all the way down. And click it without hurting your fingers, okay? Battery is a little bit loose, let's see. Now go grab a cup of coffee, go grab your lunch. You can wait an hour, 2 hours, does not matter, okay? Another thing that I'm used to do is when I'm verifying here the grounds of these cars, by habit I usually do this. I apply a little bit of WD-40. I'm not sponsored by it, okay? I would love to, but I'm not. And I see here the tightening of these small nuts, because I did already found some that were out of place, crooked, and well, altogether not in place on new cars. Sometimes on the assembly that fails, so I do check for that. Also this one, this is a 10. Oh, this is perfect. Okay. Now the remote here is very important, because basically we are telling the car, beware that I want to start the car. So with this procedure of closing and opening the central locking, it will prepare itself and ask all of the control units if they are able to start the car, okay? So it prepares mentally to do so. Very important to know if your boot opens. If it does not open, an issue is present with your procedure of replacing the battery. A heads up here, guys, these gas struts, the new ones that are available from that website that you love so much, look at that. That destroy, absolutely destroy the hinges and the pivots of the rear door. So beware of that. If you want to buy cheap, don't do it. Oh, it's glued shut. So let's see what happens. I will not attempt to start the car. Just want to start my diagnosis. The symptom was the ABS ESP did not respond. Let's see if that happens. And also let's hear if the fuel pump now goes all the way, like 20 seconds or 15 seconds. It's difficult to hear the fuel pump. So what I will do is do a full scan of all of the control units. In that way I can see in real time if the machine can enter, if the diagnosis machine can enter. So parking sensors are in, the passenger and driver's door, yes, the cluster, airbag 1, body computer, ABS, here we go. Nope. Possibly, nope. So I do have another ABS there in case of this. Yes, I do. So ABS was not able to enter. If it is not able to enter, it cannot communicate the transponder and it will not start, I believe. We do have here 3 fault codes, but this is irrelevant. So we have here the fault code for the pressure of the AC system. Does not have any freon. That's why it has this fault code. We had two more. Was the sensor for the temperature of the diesel. It is no longer. And the feedback of the glow plug unit. It is also no longer here. But we cannot enter on the ABS. So, okay. I do have another ABS over there, a used one, for testing. And I wanted to do that only if the car did this symptom. With this issue, of course, the car will not run. I will not attempt to start it even, because it will not. I can try. Thing is, I cannot hear if the diesel fuel is okay. So as you can see, we have here more than one fault code. The ECU was very bad. They were able to repair it. Now we have still a miscommunication with the ABS control unit. Already saw that we have all of the grounds to wake it up. Does not want to wake up. So I have here a good used one to try. If it is working, yeah, I will have to replace it, of course. Well, like I said, it should not start with the ABS damaged, but the ABS may not be so damaged that it cannot run. And I really want to try it if it runs, because I want to justify my repair over here on the thing, on the control unit. So let's see if it runs. Oh, foot on the clutch. Oh, it runs. So my car is always the same. Damn it. Jesus. Yeah. So noisy, this engine. Not good. It does run, and we have a problem on the ABS. So we can confirm that we had a problem on the control unit, and we still have a problem on the ABS. Yes. Nice. Well, this is a surprise. It is always a surprise, because as I always say, no two issues are the same. And as you can see, no two issues are the same. So the ABS unit, the ESP unit, may be barely alive enough to pass the message that the car can start. And it did start. It is very noisy. This engine may be out of timing or something, or this does not have hydraulic tappets, so they also may be with some issue with the adjustment. For example, it adjusts with some coin style adjusters. But okay, that is just to inform the customer. Now I did inform the customer that the car runs again. Okay, finally it runs, and I will finalize here the diagnosis with that ABS. And if he wants to go ahead, I will replace the ABS entirely. And if it does, I will do a separate video for it. Okay. Now I will probably before that do a test run on the road to hear and to feel the car, to try to do a complete diagnosis on the necessities of the car, to inform the customer, because I always like to work like this. I would like to inform the customer the most that I can, so I can say everything at once, not to drop the information like water drops. Okay, trying to fill a cup. So I will connect the connector over here just to see if it does enter and it does stay okay. And if it does, I will test the car on the road to see what's what. Before taking out this connector over here of the battery, make sure that the car is at rest at least 5 to 10 minutes, and with the key off the car. Again, all of these issues could probably be avoided if a good strong battery was here. Still nothing. What is happening? So the ABS is not the issue. What can be? The body? The fault codes disappear. All of them. By its own. Well, the the airbag light is on because it has an internal fault on the airbag control unit, and also the parking sensors have one problem, one of the sensors. Doing here again the diagnosis, my machine still does not enter the ABS, but the faults are gone. Well, what the hell is happening? Like sometimes I tell you, this machine over here is the old one, not the new one. The new one, I do not have it right now, okay? And sometimes it does not enter in certain control units. So all along, what I had was not a problem on communication on the ABS. It was only a problem on the control unit of the engine. But because it had a problem on the control unit of the engine, the ABS lights came on because they needed each other to communicate, okay? As soon as the car went to the road, that's why I like to do the road test. As soon it saw that the wheels are spinning, that the wheel was turning, the steering wheel was turning, everything was according to what is supposed to do, he decided, well, the fault codes are no longer relevant, and I, being a crucial control unit for the driving and security of the car, I will myself erase the codes. So it did. Okay? You have to think every time that you work on the car, mainly if it is the first time that you encounter a problem like this, maybe my diagnosis machine is not capable of doing the diagnosis like it happened over here, okay? With that, the problem is solved, okay? Now, the road test tells me also that this gearbox is it's gone. It's doing a lot of noise. The flywheel, it's going to pieces as well because the smooth shut-off of the engine is not working. It is not the throttle body, okay? The intake shut-off valve is not working. And once you have a bad flywheel, the gearbox goes along with it. The power, I am still not able to test power because the temperature of the engine is not right yet, okay? But I will see that soon. And so here you have it, guys. One more issue solved. I have plenty more to go at home. I have a lot of cars on my workshop to solve some issues. I really do have a lot of stuff to do. I do have a 164, the crank no start. I have a 166 to remove the engine. I have another 166 that is almost ready. I have to take out to replace a door latch, for example. I will do a video for that, okay? And I have timing belt, but I already have videos for that. I have alternator from the GTD 8-valve engine on the 156. I will do the video for that. I'm doing a video for the thermostat of those 8-valve engines, the GTD ones, okay? Very lengthy video, but very, very exact and very detailed, like I like to do. You already know that, okay? Don't forget that down in the description you have more videos and playlists for all areas of the car, and also you have links for helps for the channel if you are able to do so. I have a 33 and a 75. They are needing for a lot of help to get back on the road, okay? I see you next time, guys. Bye.